Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with some more updates coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got lots of big news to share with you today. So, we've got a fresh story just breaking that Russia's going to transfer MiG-29 and Su-27 fighter jets to North Korea very soon. There was a statement that came out from Admiral Samuel Paparo, commander of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. He stated Russia has reached an agreement with North Korea to send MiG-29 and Su-27 fighter aircraft to Pyongyang in return for that nation deploying soldiers to help with Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. Okay, so this is a very big story coming out today. Looks like we are going to have Vladimir Putin sending MiG-29 and Su-27 fighter jets over to North Korea to bolster their air force. Now, recently, I think Russia sent something like 1 million barrels of oil over to North Korea as a thank you. They've also been sending them like zoo animals and I think food as well, like rice. So now they're starting to send them military equipment. This is a very major step forward, sending these fighter jets over to North Korea, as North Korea does not have a very advanced, a fleet of fighter craft in their country. So the MiG-29s and Su-27 will definitely be a major upgrade for them, bolstering their air force. So we're going to talk more about this today. I'll show you guys some information in regards to this. Also, we have reports of a border breach in the Sumy region of Ukraine. Now, this is very close to the Kursk region. There is a possibility that Russian soldiers could have crossed over into Ukrainian territory in that area. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Also, a medical center in Zaporizhzhia coming under attack by Russian missiles or glide bombs, striking a medical center. And we had at least 3 people so far that have been killed and 11 wounded, last I knew. So very terrible attack on that facility. Then numerous other things that I want to show you coming out from this war with Russia and Ukraine today. So we're going to go ahead and start jumping right into the news here. I've got a lot of things that I want to show you today. So let's go ahead and hop on over here to mainstream news just for a moment. This is from Military. Here's a picture of MiG-29, a fighter jet. And it says right here, Russia to arm North Korea with MiG-29 and Su-27 fighter aircraft. Okay, this just coming out today, December 10th, 2024. Russia has signed an agreement to transfer Soviet-era fighter jets in exchange for North Korean support in the war against Ukraine. Admiral Samuel Paparo, leader of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, announced this during an address at the Reagan National Defense Forum on December 7th. He said that the deployment of the soldiers was proposed by North Korea on its own initiative, and now North Korean soldiers are in the combat zone on the territory of Ukraine, although they are not participating in combat. The admiral did not name the number of MiG-29s and Su-27s to be transferred, but noted that their delivery could significantly enhance North Korea's military capabilities, especially amid the tense international situation. Although these fighter jets were manufactured in the Soviet Union and are not the most modern models of Russian weapons, they still have significant combat potential. Okay, so clearly still a threat in the Pacific region now. With obviously there's lots of things going on between North and South Korea. This could definitely create higher tensions over there with South Korea as well. They've already been having a lot of border issues over there between North and the South on the Korean Peninsula. So this could create more tense situations over there in that area. So definitely a dangerous situation, but we are seeing for sure Moscow and Pyongyang working heavily together, and we are now starting to see Russia beef up North Korea's military capabilities now, okay? So they are definitely working hard together. So let's go ahead and jump on over to X now. I've got lots of things I want to show you over here as well today. This from Max24. North Korean troops remain in the Kursk region of Russia and have not yet taken direct part in hostilities against Ukraine, but they are ready to enter the fight at any time, says Sabrina Singh, who is the spokeswoman for the Pentagon. Okay, so she's stating that the North Korean troops have not yet engaged in hostilities against Ukraine, but they're ready to enter the fight anytime, okay? And they're still in the Kursk region right now. So my best guess is, since we haven't heard too much engagement with the Ukrainians fighting against North Koreans yet, we've kind of heard a little bit of blips coming out here and there, a little bit of chatter about it, but not too much. It makes me think that these North Koreans are probably taking up positions in the back line somewhere and allowing some of the reserves for Russia to move towards the front is my best guess for right now. But maybe if they get into a dire situation, who knows, they may deploy them to the front to fight inside of Ukraine. But so far, that hasn't really been a super confirmed thing yet. There has been, again, some chatter about it, but nothing too insane. So moving on to another update now from Max24, border breach in Sumy region. Deep State reports Russia managed to seize the border area near the village of Alexandria. State Border Service of Ukraine states that the data on the border breach are not true. Neither attempts to enter nor attempts at hostilities were recorded. So Deep State is confirming that apparently there was a border breach very close to the Kursk offensive. Okay, so this is the border of Ukraine and Russia here, this kind of red line. And the blue indicates where Ukraine is holding in the Kursk offensive right now, okay, inside the Kursk region of Russia. And just a little bit southeast, there is a town over here called Alexandria. And apparently this is where this potentially could have happened. Now, I do know that the Russians are in this area right here, okay? They for sure are on the southeastern side of the Kursk offensive right now, and Ukraine is fighting in these areas. So it is possible that maybe some of the soldiers had crossed over into Ukrainian territory. Now, we'll wait for some more updates coming out later, but this has not been completely confirmed yet. And also the State Border Service of Ukraine is essentially denying this, stating that's not true. So we don't know 110% yet whether this is the case, but this could be very big if this ends up happening over here. Okay, also from Bandera Fella, Russian forces have entered the Sumy region from the direction of Plokovo. Heavy fighting is ongoing. Ukrainian defenders are holding their ground to repel the enemy invasion. Updates to follow. Slava Ukraini. Okay, so here's another report from Bandera Fella. He's stating that there actually was a border breach. Now, again, we don't know 110%. These reports are just starting to come out, so I'm going to wait for more information, maybe from Ukraine to confirm this. But this could be very bad for Ukraine, and maybe the reason why the Russians were able to push into here. Obviously, Ukraine is very busy right now fighting against the Russians over in the Kursk region, and maybe some of these Russians were able to slip through, and this could also make potentially the Kursk offensive fall apart if they feel like they need to fall back. So this could also be the strategy that Russia's trying to use here. So again, we'll wait for more information coming out on that later, and if I get more details, I will share that with you guys at a later time. Now we're going to move on to Zaporizhzhia and this attack on this medical facility. This is from War Translated Dmitry. Russians hit a private clinic in Zaporizhzhia. The building of the medical facility was destroyed, and nearby buildings were also damaged. There are currently 3 dead and 11 wounded, including 2 doctors. Rescuers are currently searching for the people under the rubble of the clinic destroyed by a Russian missile. So we got a few photos we can show you guys here of the damage of this facility. And whenever I saw the pictures and the video coming out from this area, it gave me images and thoughts of back when Russia struck Kiev. If you guys remember, the Okhmadit Children's Hospital that was hit by multiple, I think it was KH-101 missiles that struck that facility. We're seeing something very similar like this again. If you see the damage to this building, just complete destruction to a medical facility over here in Zaporizhzhia. And we know right now that the Russians are preparing a major offensive in the Zaporizhzhia region. So over the last few months, I want to say we have seen lots of attacks here, especially in the city of Zaporizhzhia. And maybe the Russians are trying to put heavy pressure on the civilians to try to get them to flee these areas, as we know that Russia is preparing a major offensive in this area as well. So that's possible why we are seeing a lot of these strikes happening, but very sad situation. Here's another post from Anton Yeroshenko. Russian ballistic strike on Zaporizhzhia. 3 people dead, 5 more injured. There are more people trapped under the rubble. A medical institution destroyed. Nearby buildings damaged. Rescue works continue. Ukrainian Tuesday. Okay, so again, this just happened this morning. We can see somebody being saved here from the rubble in this building. Major damage to the front of this building as well. Very, very sad situation, guys. So devastating damage here done to another medical institution inside of Ukraine. We've seen this repeatedly, okay? I just reported up in the Sumy region, I want to say roughly about a month or so ago, maybe a month and a half ago, that we had a hospital that was directly struck by a Russian glide bomb, and lots of people were injured in that attack as well. So Russia is just completely devastating Ukraine all over and attacking lots of civilian infrastructure. We've got video footage here as well from the strike. From Anton Yeroshenko, the number of casualties in Zaporizhzhia has increased to 14 in the aftermath of the Russian strike on a private clinic. Rescue works continue. Okay, so we've got video footage here that we'll go ahead and take a look at. 57 seconds long. Take a look.
Вот это красиво. Да, вот это, ну, рука, рука.
Двигаемся 60 метров скорые.
Или снимем? Нет, снимем.
All right, so judging the look of the way this building is after the hits, it looks to me like potentially multiple missiles struck this building. We can see massive damage all over here. And I was wondering, why would Russia target a hospital? I'm not sure if maybe some Ukrainian troops are maybe inside recovering from wounds. Maybe that's why Russia would target this. I'm not sure if the Ukrainians were maybe using this building for other purposes, for maybe military purposes. I wouldn't see why that would be. But regardless, we have seen Russia launch strikes on lots of critical infrastructure inside of Ukraine, and especially hospitals just being battered. I mean, look at this damage, guys. Absolutely insane. It for sure looks like it took direct hits multiple times, maybe 2 or more times. So very, very sad situation, again, to report inside of Ukraine. It's almost every day we have to report something like that. Also from Glasnost Gone, today Ukraine attacked a military airfield in Russia's Saratov region with drones around 600 kilometers away. Ork governor wouldn't say which airfield, but it's likely to be the Engels long-range aviation base near regional capital Saratov, which Ukraine struck before. Okay, so we have reported the Engels Airbase coming under attack by Ukrainian drones in the past. These are just kind of some images showing where the airbase is. So for reference, if any guys don't know exactly where it's at in the Saratov region over here, I'd say approximately about maybe 300 to 400 kilometers from the border of Ukraine. Now, this was being reported today from Glasnost Gone, and I don't know if he's getting this confused with a prior attack, because we do have another post here to show you guys that apparently on December 5th, I had no idea this even happened. Maybe this information is just being confirmed, but it looks like we had some actual direct hits on the Engels Airbase on December 5th, so I'm not sure if he's getting it confused with that, or if maybe it's possible we had a second attack, but not too many people are discussing this right now, so I don't have all the details just yet. But this is from Bricktop NAFO. 2 Russian Tu-95 aircraft were damaged in the drone attack at Engels Airbase in Saratov region. According to sources, the attack took place the morning of December 5th. An unidentified drone crashed onto the runway at the Engels 1 airbase. As a result, 2 Tu-95 bomber missile carriers were damaged. 2 servicemen were injured and hospitalized. Satellite images of the airbase in Engels before and after the drone attack have been published. There was there was another attack on the airbase today. According to local governor, there was no damage. Ukraine has attacked this airbase several times. Okay, so Bricktop is also reporting that there was an attack on the airbase, so maybe there was a second attack, just like what we had on December 5th, but we don't have all those details yet. But he did share some satellite images coming out from the Engels Airbase. You can see here, Engels 2 Airbase, Russia, December 4th, 2022. We can see no damage to any of these aircraft here. A lot of their bombers that are sitting here on the runway. Then we've got this other photo that just came out from December 6th, okay? And it says Engels 2 Airbase, Russia, December 6, 2022. Fire trucks at a possible explosion site. So we can see fire trucks right here. That definitely looks like them. And Tu-95 bomber with traces of fire extinguishing foam. So if you look closely, it might be a little hard to tell, but you can see a lot of white underneath this bomber right here, possibly indicating this is fire extinguishing foam, as it probably took a direct hit from a drone. And we've got some other pictures to show you here also. It says Engels Air Force Base, Saratov, fire retardant foam under the Tu-95, which we're able to clearly see in this photo here. Black mark to the left is new and is likely a blast or burn mark. So that is there. That wasn't there in this last photo over here. If you look closely, we don't really see a burn mark, or maybe right there actually. It's kind of hard to see, but in between these two circles, I can kind of see a black burn mark there. Substantially more debris spread about the tarmac here as well. So over here we can see what looks like debris possibly from the drone that exploded, maybe even bits and pieces of this Tu-95 bomber that was hit. Now he's indicating that 2 of them were hit, but this information is only showing 1, so I'm not sure if there's reports of another one that was hit. But this is also a satellite image coming out from this area showing where this airbase is located at. So, yeah, it looks like possibly we had at least 1 Tu-95 bomber that was struck on December 5th, maybe even 2 at the Engels Airbase. And again, we are hearing reports that there was the Engels Airbase coming under attack once again today. So if I get more details on that strike, I will share that with you guys at a later time. Also from Nexta, the armed forces of Ukraine likely struck a large ammunition depot of the occupiers in the captured city of Yenakiev. Footage from the occupied Yenakiev in the Donetsk region has been shared by local Telegram channels. In the video, secondary detonations can be heard. Sounds typical of strikes on facilities containing large quantities of weapons. The occupation city authorities have initiated an emergency evacuation in Yenakiev following the powerful explosions. Residents of more than 10 streets were ordered to urgently gather documents and essential items, and proceed to designated assembly points. The Nexta editorial team has reportedly identified the strike location. Satellite images from Google Maps show a large warehouse marked in red with numerous containers resembling those used for storing ammunition. Additionally, streets marked in blue indicate that areas where residents are subject to evacuation. These streets are also located near the warehouse. Notably, Yenakiev is the hometown of the ousted former president of Ukraine, Viktor Yanukovych. Okay, so we've got a video here to show you guys. It's going to be very blurry. It's kind of like purposely blurred out for some reason, but you're going to hear lots of secondary explosions in the background indicating that a weapon storage warehouse was struck over here in the Donetsk region of Ukraine. We've got a map to show you guys as well, so we'll take a look at this first. Alright, so this video for sure sounds like a weapons depot that was hit. You can hear lots of secondary explosions in the background, lots of pop sounds indicating ammunition exploding. So it looks like the Ukrainians did make a direct hit on an ammo depot. Here's that picture that Nexta was talking about, showing the area that was directly struck. Looks like we have a few warehouses here that were potentially destroyed with these weapons stored inside of them. And once again, directly next to a town. And here's all these blue areas indicating all the streets that were ordered to evacuate as this weapons depot was going up in flames, okay, and exploding. So very crazy story coming out from the Donetsk region, direct hit from the Ukrainians. Now moving on to another update from Knoll Reports. CDU leader Merz says Germany would not supply Taurus missiles to Ukraine unilaterally, but only in coordination with the next U.S. administration and European allies. Speaking after his meeting with Zelensky, Merz noted training on the system takes 4 months. By then, Trump could be in office. We must answer these questions together with the U.S. and Europe, not alone, he said. However, Merz doubts any single weapon system could fundamentally change the war. Okay, so this was potentially the statement or the article that was talking about this. So if it takes 4 months for them to train using this Taurus missile, I would assume they probably going to start training very soon, and then maybe around the time that Trump gets in, maybe that's when if Merz ends up becoming the new chancellor in Germany, that's probably when he would work with some of the European allies and possibly even Donald Trump if they decide to move forward and give Ukraine these Taurus missiles. So maybe that'll be a possibility in the future, but we're still waiting for official confirmation on this. And I reported this to you guys, I think yesterday, several times over the last week as well, that Ukraine could be potentially receiving Taurus missiles from Germany very soon. Okay, moving on to another update from Max24. Peace talks on the war in Ukraine could possibly start this winter, Poland's Prime Minister Tusk said, as he outlined a series of planned meetings as Warsaw seeks to play a leading role in ending the conflict, according to Reuters. Tusk said Macron would visit Warsaw on Thursday to give a rundown on talks with Trump and Zelensky in Paris. Okay, so let me know what you think. Do you think that peace talks are going to start soon? It kind of seems like it on both sides, even with Russia's side. I'll show you guys some information here in just a little bit that possibly indicates that Russia is going to be ready to start moving towards peace talks with Ukraine and try to end this war. And we know that right now with Volodymyr Zelensky, he is definitely pushing for Ukraine to try to end this war by this year in 2025, once we start to get Donald Trump into office in January. But yeah, this was something that came out from Donald Tusk, the Prime Minister of Poland, just in the last 24 hours. Also from the Kyiv Independent, Ukraine won't trade young soldiers' lives for better weapons, Zelensky says. The priority should be providing missiles and lowering Russia's military potential, not Ukraine's draft age. So we're still continuing to see Volodymyr Zelensky come out and push back against the United States, calling for Ukraine to lower their draft age from 25 to 18. It looks like he's still not willing to do that at this time, according to this information. I also have this report from Matthew Miller, who is the U.S. State Department spokesperson. This is from Maria Drutska. If Ukraine lowers the conscription age, new recruits will be fully equipped and trained, stated a U.S. State Department spokesperson. Especially considering that not a single combat brigade in the AFU is fully equipped, does this mean that critical aid is intentionally being withheld in storage? Okay, now this is a very interesting question coming out from Maria Drutska. Now, obviously the U.S. coming out and saying that they will provide weapons for the Ukrainian troops if they lower their draft age to 18 to equip these new brigades that get formed, these new recruits, right? Now, why would they not just do that already? We've heard from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that 2.5 out of 10 brigades are only equipped right now currently inside Ukraine, and that's with their draft age at 25. So if, 7.5 of their brigades are not equipped, why are they not equipped right now, and why does it require these new recruits to come in that are 18 years of age, basically just kids just coming out of school, joining into the military? Now, there's obviously could be a lot of reasons for that. Maybe the U.S. just wants Ukraine to, fill the ranks and add more troops to the front line. Maybe so that way Ukraine doesn't feel the need to have to strike inside of Russia with some of these longer range weapons, because we saw how Russia responded to that recently. I'm not sure if that could be the case. Or maybe the U.S. just wants this war to continue. Who knows? I mean, let me know what you think down below, but definitely a weird situation in terms of asking Ukraine to lower their conscription age, but we have been seeing Volodymyr Zelensky pushing back on that a lot lately. Okay, also from Anton Gerashenko, Russia's wheel food and water to their positions using a self-made wheelbarrow, taking back soldiers' corpses in bags. Okay, so take a look at this, guys. This is going to show Russian soldiers walking through snow over here using a single-wheeled wheelbarrow to carry equipment over to the front line. Not sure if this is in Ukraine or inside of the Kursk region of Russia, but it kind of shows that, the Russians may be ill-equipped in some areas and don't even have simple equipment to transport things across vast areas. So take a look at this.
Сначала катим провизию пацанам на передок, а обратно пацанов забираем, к сожалению, в пакетах. Вот такая вот у нас фиговая служба. Болото, скользко, колесо неудобное. Его держать приходится, руки затекают, падает то влево, то вправо. Перекуры через каждые 100-150 метров. На одно колесо 4 человека. Цель для птичек вообще только и ждут. В общем, вот так вот у нас проходят боевые дни. Сначала.
All right, pretty insane, right? They're just having to use this simple wheelbarrow to transfer what looks like water and food to the front line. So many of the Russian units looks like they don't even have simple equipment just to be able to transfer things to the front line. So that could be a big sign, too, that Russia just doesn't even have transporting vehicles as well. We've been hearing a lot of vehicles being destroyed up in the Kursk region alone, so that's where this could possibly be. But if you also notice, they were complaining about birds, which are drones. And I've been talking about these, that the FPV drones are very effective. It looks like they're even worried about those, just trying to bring equipment to the front line. Okay, moving on to another update from Nexta. Lukashenko, Belarus has several dozen nuclear warheads. I have brought nuclear warheads here, not just a few, but several dozen. Many are saying, oh, it's a joke. Nothing was brought in. They were brought in. The fact that our opponents call it a joke means they missed it. They didn't even notice that we brought them here. Lukashenko also stated that Belarus participated in the development of the new Russian ballistic missile Oreshnik. According to him, Belarus produces the entire launch system for the missile. In the Oreshnik, the entire launch system is Belarusian, except for the missile itself. Localization is extremely high, I told him. Editor's note, Putin, we aren't demanding the work to work on the missile itself. If necessary, we'll make it together. We have enough expertise in this area, just like with the nuclear power plant, but we will produce the launch system. MZKT is doing it, and they're working on even more serious things, so let's move forward together, Lukashenko explained. In March 2023, Russia and Belarus agreed to deploy nuclear weapons on Belarusian territory. The transfer of Russian Iskander-M missile systems to Belarus was discussed by Putin and Lukashenko last summer. At the time, Putin stated that the transfer would take place in the coming months and emphasized that these missiles are capable of carrying nuclear warheads. Okay, so we've been seeing Alexander Lukashenko come out a lot recently talking about nuclear weapons. He even discussed this during the summit that was with Vladimir Putin just a few days ago. He even asked Vladimir Putin to send the Oreshnik medium-range ballistic missile over to Belarus to boost their forces over there. And we've been hearing about this for months now, that Belarus apparently has Iskander-M ballistic missiles, which could potentially carry nuclear weapons from what we're being told. And he's been coming out a lot speaking about this, so I wonder if they're concerned about invasion into their country or maybe something like that, as they've been stating a lot that they have nuclear weapons, and even we heard that Alexander Lukashenko potentially has his own nuclear button, that he does not have to get permission from Vladimir Putin to use nuclear weapons. So we have been seeing a lot of that from Belarus recently. I wanted to share that with you guys today. A quick update from Belarus. Also from Max24, Chinese manufacturers have begun to restrict the sale of components for the creation of UAVs in Europe and USA, according to Bloomberg. These components in particular are also used in Ukraine. The West expects that China will introduce even wider export restrictions from 2025. Okay, now, could this put a hamper on Ukraine's production of drones? I think maybe in the beginning it could, but also this is an opportunity for Europe and the US to step up their own production of drones, and this could also potentially help out economies at the same time. So I don't know if this is completely a bad story in terms of Europe, the US, and Ukraine. As you know, this now gives opportunity for many defense contractors and companies inside of Europe, US, and Ukraine to now start producing their own drones. So I think if anything, that's probably what will happen. But yes, Chinese manufacturers have begun to restrict the sale of components for the creation of UAVs, okay, in European countries and the US. Also from the Kiev Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of December 10th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Here's a little update diagram to share with you guys of Russian losses recently that Ukraine is reporting. 1,350 troops, still right around that 1,500 mark that we've been seeing. 7 AFVs, 48 vehicles and fuel tanks, 5 tanks, 3 artillery systems, 14 UAVs, and 1 special equipment. And looks like that's it. So we have been seeing these numbers starting to drop recently. I will say that. So I wonder if the front line is not as aggressive as maybe it was recently in the past. And even some of their troop losses have been a little bit lower than 1,500 recently. So I wonder if Russia is maybe not launching as many aggressive attacks as they maybe once were just like a month ago, as we are starting to see this war starting to grind down a little bit. So that is a possibility why we are seeing some of these numbers being lowered a little bit, but let me know what you think down below. Couple more things to share with you guys from War Translated Dmitry. Zelensky believes that Putin will try to retaliate for the fall of Assad's regime. Assad and Putin are not just vassal and suzerain. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. They are accomplices in violence. Dictators like Assad cannot survive without dictators like Putin, and Putin will attempt to avenge Assad's fall, the Ukrainian president said. Okay, so this is a big report coming out today that Volodymyr Zelensky believes that Putin will try to retaliate for Bashar al-Assad losing control of Syria, because that also means that now Russia doesn't have control of Syria, which was a major strategic location for Russia's military in the Middle East. And yeah, it looks like he might try to retaliate. It makes me wonder how they could potentially retaliate. Now, we were hearing a lot, Iran was coming out and warning Ukraine, telling Ukraine not to supply 3D blueprints on how to produce drones for some of the Syrian rebels, that Ukraine is involved with what was happening over there with the collapse of the Bashar al-Assad regime. So who knows what's going to happen here. We might definitely see Russia retaliate in some way, but I'm not sure how they would really retaliate. But let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Also from legitimate targets, breaking: Ukraine has stopped firing long-range missiles at Russia following Putin's Oreshnik strike. Okay, so now this is an interesting report coming out today, and I wanted to share this because it's kind of true. We haven't really seen Ukraine using any of these missiles that the U.S. supplies, like the ATACMS or the British Storm Shadow, Scalp EG missiles from France. We haven't seen any strikes recently over the last week or so. Okay, and the last one that we had, I think it was just up in the Kursk region. We had a strike up there, I think, with ATACMS at a military base. I think it was the Kalino military airfield. But aside from that, there hasn't really been any attacks recently inside of Russia that we've heard of using some of the missiles provided by the West. So are we going to start to see that happen again, or is Ukraine actually spooked by this Oreshnik missile, and do they believe that Russia could launch another one of these or start striking targets inside of Ukraine with this, with actual warheads? So we'll have to see what happens here, but that is some big news coming out today as well, and something that I thought about. Okay, also from Max24, Russia's close to achieving the goal of the Special Military Operation, or SVO, according to Sergei Narishkin. Now, Sergei Narishkin, if you don't know who he is, he's a Russian politician. Now, apparently he came out saying this today, and some people are stating that maybe Russia's preparing their citizens to get ready for this war to end. And we heard recently that the Ukrainians were stating that Russia was going to try to paint a picture to make it appear as if they're winning, that this was a victory for them, so that way there's no pushback from the citizens inside of Russia. Yeah, that was a big report coming out today from Sergei Narishkin, okay, stating that they are close to achieving the goal of the special military operation. All right, also from Glasnost Gone, final update. Russia's strategic genius strikes again. Putin's now buying babies, with Russia's birth rate at its lowest for 25 years and mortality rates rising. At least 11 Russian regions will pay students 100,000 rubles, less than $1,000, next year in exchange for giving birth. Now, obviously, the war going on, Russia's going to be losing lots of their civilians, primarily men, right? Lots of them are dying inside of the war in Ukraine. And, just imagine, too, I would think that birth rates are going to be falling inside of Russia, considering that they're at war. They've got major inflation in their country. And something that's very obvious is, anytime countries are experiencing major inflation, we usually see birth rates declining. And a lot of times, people are going to choose not to have children if the economy is really in bad shape, okay? And things are very expensive to afford. How can you afford to take care of a kid, let alone yourself, if the economy is not doing well and inflation is through the roof? So that's a possibility as well. But it looks like some Russian regions are trying to pay female students for early motherhood, according to this article here. So that's pretty crazy news. And that was originally coming out from the Moscow Times today. So lots of news coming out from this war today. I want to thank you so much for tuning in, guys. And if you got something out of this update, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoyed my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.